ASMR Coffin Radio.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Coffin Radio. I'm Heartthrob Rob, and today we are watching Biography, Roddy Piper on A&E. Another WWE special here, man. This one was pretty good, to be honest with you, but not exceeding the Stone Cold episode of last week's. This one is decent. I'm, a huge fan of Roddy, but not the biggest biography dude of his. Like, I couldn't tell you where a lot of his career was. I know he was WWE, but he was one of those guys who could really go into different territories and still pop them. You know what I mean? He wasn't, he was able to do those kind of things where if you needed a heel, he was good, It wasn't until later on in life that he became a babyface, and even then it was still, he was such a good bad guy, you couldn't do anything but love him, right? But it goes over, his California stuff early on. It goes over how he got over in Portland, where he got the bagpipes. He was Rod the Piper, so Roddy Piper, as he has the kilt. It was just different. And just like anything else in wrestling, you have to have your gimmick, you have to have your background, what character you are. So he was able to pull that out, become something, you cranked up to the max, cranked up to, complete volume, which is very cool. It shows the California stuff with Gene LaBelle, Portland, and then it goes over to when Roddy went to Georgia Championship Wrestling, which I was really unfamiliar with, but it just shows him and Ric Flair running roughshod over the whole fucking territory, which was very cool to see them combine. But, we do get to see, Roddy's demons that he's talked about over the years, and, he comes from a different time, these wrestlers when they really had to be when they had to be protective of their spots. So it's just completely different now, but to see their old school ways, and the thing that kind of bothered me about the biography, it just depends on the way you look at it, to be honest with you. It's not a biography in the sense of here's your point starting to the point end of your life or the point of your wrestling. It's kind of just the main big piece of your career, and this one is really showing the main piece being everything that led into the first two WrestleManias, of the war to settle the score, obviously, as well. And the first WrestleMania, and that's when people don't realize, man, the Rock and wrestling connection really worked. As MTV's blowing up, wrestling is now becoming mainstream on national television, and when those combined, it made for fucking great ratings here. As we have Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou Albano who made that, and now Roddy Piper, when they're fighting, when he's jumping somebody. Cyndi Lauper's on his leg, he kind of kicks her, and as he kicks her, as my microphone falls off, as he kicks her, all hell breaks loose. People start throwing stuff at him on his way out to the ring, and people really want to see blood. So that's when him and Hogan really do battle, and him and Mr. T and all that stuff, and at WrestleMania, and Hogan's here, and the whole time he's talking about he really was afraid that Piper and Paul Orndorff or Bob Orton Sr. were really gonna, or Bob Orton Jr. were gonna take the boots to Mr. T for real. When we needed Mr. T to go over, at least be on the winning team with Hogan, sprinkle that Hogan dust. People don't realize how big that was in the 80s. We look at Mr. T, the 90s, not as cool, but in the 80s, that dude was fucking badass, dude. Even now, you look at it with a fondness, though. And a lot of this was more family oriented. His kids were in the biography this time. So, and no offense to anybody, but, as Stone Cold had the big and the brightest, the best backstage people and superstars talking about how great he is, this one was his family kind of putting him over, and just more of the background for family stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but as a big wrestling guy, I wanted to be more wrestling and get a little bit more meat there. But it ends pretty much with a little bit after the wrestling stuff, some acting. They go into They Live. The actor who was his co-star, I forget the man's name, but he said he loved Roddy, man, and he never felt so safe in someone else's beating the crap out of him. So I thought that was very cool. And it just, it's a good biography. I just wish there was more wrestling to it for 2 hours. I'm expecting to see a little bit more. You don't got to show me a whole match, but, I'd like to see some other crazy stuff. Ooh, I forgot to say, they go over the dog collar match that he had with Greg Valentine. God, that stuff looked bloody, man. They were beating the crap out of each other. Still one of the craziest matches of all time, if you've ever seen it. I thought that was very cool that they would have that on there. But that's what I think, man. It was a good review. Maybe not as good as last week's, but we're setting up for the Macho Man episode that's coming out next week. So I'd love to see that. But let me know what you guys think, man. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you love it? Was it so-so? What do you think about the Macho Man episode? Man, I can't wait for that. Let's get into it. But let me know what you guys think. And if you like what you're watching, then hop in the coffin. Follow us on social media at Coffin Radio. Coffin is spelled with a K. And that's all for today.
ASMR Coffin Radio.